Interesting. Can you hear me? How do I come in? Type in the chat. Testing. I am heard very well. Evang me sutang. All right, let's give it some time for people to join. Then we'll get started. All right, I think we can get started. I'm feeling a little dehydrated in the throat today, so I'm going to be coughing up a lung, unfortunately. I'm going to try to drink. So, since in just a few days, the Grandmaster, Donna Master, will be in his sleigh going around the world giving gifts. Maybe I figure it's good to do some the chanting for today to be about Donna. Why not? Since this is the season of giving, as they say. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So this is the traditional Dana chant. Na samane, na brahmane, na kapandika vibhinake, ladana samvibhajeti, anang panang cha bhojanang, tang veya vuttika sammoti, ahunang purisaddamang, ekachanang nadadanti, ekachanang pavechati, tang ve pade savisiti ahu medhavinojana subikkatavacho puriso sabbabutta nukakampako amodamano parikareti deta tibhasati yatapi meghotanayattiva yitva gajitva parivasiti talang ninang chapureti abhisandanto vavarina evang eva yadhaikacho puggalo hotitadiso dhammena samvaritavana uttana digatang danang tappeti anna panena sammasatte vanibbake yatapi kumbo sampunno yassa kassachi adokato ivamate udakarang nissesang natata parikaveta tateva yachake disvahinang utkattara majjima dadahi danang nissesang kumbo via adhokato danang cha peya vajjang cha atticharya cha ya ida sammanatata cha dhammesu tatta yatarahang ete ko sangha loke ratassani vayamit yato anadho balado hoti vattado hoti vannado yanado sukkado hoti dipado hoti chakkudo socha sabbabda hoti yo daddati upassayam amatang daddocha so hoti yo dhammang anusasati. All right, now the English. Not with recluses or Brahmins, neither with the poor and needy does the base man share his food, or give drink with sustenance. People say that the selfish man is like a drought, a rainless sky. One who shares his wealth with some but not gladly give to others is only like a local shower. In such a way the wise describe him. But one who rains down bountiful gifts, gladly giving here and there, out of compassion for all beings, and who always says, give, give. This type of person is like a giant cloud filled with rain, thundering and pouring down refreshing water everywhere, drenching the highlands and the lowlands too. Generous without distinction. With his wealth collected justly, won through his own efforts, he shares both food and drink with beings who are in need. Just as a pot filled with water, if overturned by anyone, pours out all of its water and does not hold back, even so, when you see those in need, whether low, middle, or high, then give like the overturned pot, holding nothing back. Generosity, kind words, doing a good turn for others, and treating all people alike. These bonds of sympathy are to the world what the linchpin is to the chariot wheel. Giving food, one gives strength. Giving clothes, one gives beauty. Giving transport, one gives delight. Giving lamps, one gives sight. Giving shelter, one gives all. But one who instructs in the Dhamma, the excellent teaching of the Buddha, such a person gives ambrosia. So let's talk about Donna. I think it's a good topic. Donna Claus. Yeah, I like it. It reminds me of my favorite, one of my favorite versions of A Christmas Carol. And you have Scrooge, talking about, being asked, will you give this is a hard time for the needy this time. And he goes, well, don't I pay for such and such? They should go do that. Right? You have two people. There's two people that are perfect for Donna when talking about Donna. Opposites of the same coin, or no, opposites of the Donna coin, I should say. There's Ebenezer Scrooge, and there's Anthapindika. Right? We know Ebenezer Scrooge. I'm sure most of us have seen some version of A Christmas Carol, whether it's a classic from the 50s or the Disney Scrooge McDuck one or whatever, right? We know, or maybe we've even read the book, Charles Dickens, which you can actually, all these old books you can read for free. Look up Gutenberg product. But anyway, if you've never read it, it might be a good read. So we know what Ebenezer Scrooge is. Ebenezer Scrooge is the miser, right? In this chant, right? He's a drought. He's not even a local rain. He's a drought, right? And he just collects his things, Now, as far as we can tell, for the most part, he is collecting his wealth justly. He's not really scamming people and doing, illegal things and stuff like that. For the most part, he's collecting it justly. So at least he's not that bad. But what he really is a miser. Right? He doesn't want to give. He just wants to hoard. And that's our natural tendency, isn't it? Right? That is, if we look deep in our mind, we see that we all have that. Right? It's part of our, what would you say? Our survival mechanism. All right. Like I was talking about the other day, maybe it was my Saturday session. I don't remember what I was talking about, but it was like, we're like the squirrel, right? We like the acorns. We're holding the acorns, right? And as we're trying to hold a bunch, we're trying to grab more like this. We're just trying to grab more, and we want to keep holding it. And as we're holding them, stuff is falling out because we can't hold so much, but we try to keep grabbing more, right? That's us. That's our natural tendency when we act out of greed, hatred, and delusion, right? So this is something. So when we look at a character like Scrooge, we really should be able to see ourselves in that person, right? Now, Anthapindika, he's a bit harder, right? Anthapindika is kind of like an ideal for us, right? Anthapindika, we know, right? That's not his name. This was a nickname that was given to him by the townspeople, right? Anthapindika means giver of alms to the poor. So before Anthapindika, who was probably the richest man in the whole region of India there, before he became famous as the foremost supporter of the Sangha, he developed a name for himself for giving. Giving, right? And then he was able to have so much money that when he wanted to get Jeta's Grove, Anthapindika's Park, you've heard this, we've read the sutras many times, we know this. Jeta, the prince, said, all right, you can have this park, but you have to put every square inch a piece of gold coin. And so Anthapindika says, hold my beer, challenge accepted. Right? And so he put gold coins everywhere and he bought it. And then he gave it to the Buddha. He gave it to the Sangha. Right? So we have this person who is the ideal as somebody who practices generosity. Right? Not only that, and because it's very easy for people to say, oh, that's because he's rich. He has money to give. But even still in his story, Anthapindika was giving money out to people. And, he wasn't like saying, okay, you owe me money. Where is it going? He's giving money out. He's giving to people. He's lending money to people, all kinds of stuff. And because because people aren't paying him back and because of, stuff that happens, I think he loses a lot of his fortune in a shipwreck, all kinds of stuff. He becomes destitute. But even still, when he becomes destitute, he still is giving. He's still providing meals to the Sangha. Right? This is very important. And then eventually he regains his wealth. But Anthapindika is our ideal as lay people, right? Even for me, as a monk, he's an ideal. It's like, because I think about like all the times when people email me and people, I give talks and all these things, and I just sometimes get exhausted. I was like, and then I think, well, Anthapindika, look what he gives, right? I can give too, right? And I think about, well, the Buddha taught like 5 Dhamma talks a day for 40 years. You can do 1 or 2 a week. You can answer some emails, right? So I think about this. I think, okay, I can do this. I can practice my generosity, right? The generosity of a monastic is only their time and what? Giving ambrosia, sharing the Dhamma. That's the only thing that we can do in terms of being generous towards others. What was the question you were going to ask, Greeno? It's actually probably a good time since I went on a little bit of a roll. Those of you who's participating here. I don't know if this participants list ever says, but anyway, whoever's there, welcome to Dhammapalooza. And what we do here is we have a 2-hour Dhamma Fest, a variety of different things. We did some chanting. I'm going to read some suttas a little bit, some suttas on dana, right? And going to do some guided meditation, all kinds of different things. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask me, we can do Q&A. So you can always put questions in the chat. While I'm talking, feel free to type in the chat, whether it's a comment, something you want to discuss, a question, that's fine. Typing in the chat is not bothering me. It's not going to distract me. And every once in a while, once I come down from talking a lot, I'll check in the chat to see what I missed. So what was the question, Greeno? Recollection on generosity. Yeah, check these out here. This is an interesting sutta. I'm deep in my Dhamma compendium, looking up all quotes on dana. So we'll let Greeno Bino tell us what sutta this is. Let's see. Bhikkhus, there are 8 grounds for giving. So 8 reasons why somebody gives. One gives a gift from desire. Like you have an attraction or a desire towards a person and you give them a gift, right? It's like, oh, I really like this person. I want to give them lots of gifts, right? So then they'll like me. So a gift with desire. One gives a gift from hatred. Now that's an interesting one, isn't it? Maybe it's like somebody wants something and you don't like them. So you say, I'm going to buy this and give it to that person to smite you. I don't know. But one gives a gift from greed, desire, attachment. One gives a gift from aversion, hatred. One gives a gift from delusion. Right? So we have greed, hatred, and delusion right here. Right? One gives a gift from fear. We see like this in like some poor countries like North Korea or like dictatorship places where, or even like if you live in a city and you have some kind of a mafia or some kind of a gang that comes up to your place and says, well, it's a nice shop you got there. It would be a shame if something happened to it. And then you pay protection money. Right? So that's a gift out of fear, right? You're giving something so that nothing bad happens to you, right? One gives a gift because one gives a gift thinking, giving was practiced before me by my father and forefathers. I should not abandon this ancient family custom. It's not a bad reason to give, right? 6. And this is, what's an example of this? Dana to monastics, right? Giving to recluses was a custom before the Buddha, and it's been a custom since the Buddha, 2,600 years later. Not only to Buddhist monastics in India, it's the custom for all sadhus, right? To invite recluses into your home, to give them food, to give them requisites, right? So this is a very ancient custom. I don't know. One gives a gift thinking, having given this gift with the breakup of the body after death, I will be reborn in a good destination, a heavenly world. So giving a gift with the expectation that it's a good deed and that you'll get good merits for it. One gives a gift thinking, when I am giving this gift, my mind becomes serene, calm, tranquil, and elation and joy arise. Right? That feeling you get for giving of yourself to somebody else, right? To doing something good for somebody else. That's a wonderful feeling, isn't it? One gives a gift. Wait. I wonder if this is a different sutta, because there's one missing that I know of very well. It says one gives because giving is good. And then 8, one gives a gift for the purpose of ornamenting the mind, equipping the mind. These are 8 grounds for giving. Let's see, what else? There's another one I wanted to see. Greeno has a sutta. Let me look at the sutta that Greeno has posted. All right. So 6 topics for recollection. Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. Buddha Nusati, Dhamma Nusati, Sangha Nusati, Sila Nusati. Yeah. And, very good. Dana Nusati. Furthermore, a noble disciple recollects their own generosity. I'm so fortunate, so very fortunate, among people full of the stain of stinginess, Scrooge. Among people full of the stain of Scrooginess, I live at home, rid of the stain of Scrooginess, freely generous, open-handed, loving to let go. Oh, I love that translation because this is what you heard me say it many times. The beginning of the Buddhist path is letting go. The middle of the Buddhist path is letting go. And the end of the Buddhist path is letting go. The beginning of the path starts with dana. Dana is letting go. Committed to charity, loving to give and to share. When a noble disciple recollects their own generosity, their mind is not full of greed, hatred, and delusion. Very good. Yes. So here's a good one. Bhikkhus, I will teach you the base of a bad person, the base of a good person. Listen and attend closely. I will speak. Yes, Bhante, those bhikkhus replied. The Blessed One said this. And what is the base of a bad person? A bad person is ungrateful and unthankful. For ingratitude and unthankfulness are extolled by the bad. Ingratitude and unthankfulness belong entirely to the plane of the bad person. For gratitude and thankfulness are extolled by the good. So when practicing in the season of giving, it's also good to practice gratitude and thankfulness for the gifts that you receive. Even, maybe you get a gift and the first thought in your mind is, oh, I'm going to return this. Right? So we skip right over gratitude and thankfulness that the person actually gave you a gift, and we jump right to, okay, I'm returning this. I'm gonna get my money and get something else, right? There's a sutta I'm thinking of, but I don't remember which one it is. I can't find it. We might have to just move forward then. Here we go. Here's another one from the Anguttara Nikaya. Number 34, Siha. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Vesali in the hall in the peaked roof at Great Root. Then Siha, the general, approached. The Blessed One paid homage to him, sat down to one side, and said, "Is it possible, Bhante, to point out a directly visible fruit of giving?" "It is, Siha," the Blessed One said. "A donor, Siha, magnificent giver, is dear and agreeable to many people. This is a directly visible fruit of giving." There you go. You become very dear to others. All right. Okay, well, I have gone through my Dhamma compendium. Let's see the chat. If anybody said anything here. No, the chat is quite quiet today. Very quiet. Oh, okay, here we go. I found another one. Of course, went to my old haunting grounds. Access to insight. Dana Sutta. I have heard that on one occasion the Blessed One was staying in Champa on the shore of the Gaggara Lake. Then a large number of lay followers from Champa went to Venerable Sariputta, and on arrival, having bowed down to him, sat to one side. As they were sitting, they said to Venerable Sariputta, "It's been a long time, Venerable Sir, since we've had a chance to hear the Dhamma in the Blessed One's presence. It would be good if we could get to hear the Dhamma in the Blessed One's presence." Then in that case, friends, come again to the next Apostata day, and perhaps you'll get to hear the Dhamma talk in the Blessed One's presence. As you say, Venerable Sir. The lay followers from Champa said to Venerable Sariputta, rising from their seat, bowing down to him and circling him, keeping him on the right, they left. Then on the following Apostata day, the lay followers from Champa went to Venerable Sariputta, and on arrival, having bowed down to him, stood to one side. Then Venerable Sariputta, together with the lay followers of Champa, went to the Blessed One, and on arrival, having bowed to him, sat down to one side. As he was sitting there, he said to the Blessed One, "Might there be a case where a person gives a gift of a certain sort, and it does not bear great fruit or great benefit, whereas another person gives a gift of the same sort, and it bears great fruit and great benefit?" Yes, Sariputta, there would be the case where a person gives a gift of a certain sort, and it does not bear great fruit and benefit, whereas another person gives a gift of another sort, of the same sort, I should say, and it bears great fruit and benefit. Lord, what is the cause? What is the reason why a person gives a gift of a certain sort, and it does not bear great fruit and great benefit, whereas another person gives a gift of the same sort, and it bears great fruit and benefit? Sariputta, there is the case where a person gives a gift seeking his own profit, with a mind attached to the reward, seeking to store up for himself with the thought, "I'll enjoy this after death." He gives a gift: food, drinking, clothing, a vehicle, a garland, perfume and ointments, bedding, shelter, and a lamp, to a Brahmin or a contemplative. What do you think, Sariputta? Might a person give such a gift as this? Yes, Lord. Having given this gift, seeking his own profit with a mind attached to the reward, seeking to store up for himself with the thought, I'll enjoy this after death, on the breakup of the body after death, he reappears in the company of the four great kings. Then, having exhausted that action, that power, the status, the sovereignty, he is a returner coming back to this world. Then there is the case of a person who gives a gift not seeking his own profit, nor with the mind attached to the reward, not seeking to store up for himself, nor with the thought, I'll enjoy this after my death. Instead, he gives a gift with a thought, giving is good. He gives his gift, food, drink, clothing, a vehicle, a garland, perfume, an ointment, bedding, shelter, and a lamp, to a Brahmin or a contemplative. What do you think, Sariputta? Might a person give such a gift as this? Yes, Lord. Having given this gift with the thought, giving is good, on the breakup of the body after death, he reappears in the company of the Devas of the 33. Then, having exhausted that action, that power, that status, that sovereignty, he is a returner coming back to the world. One of the things that actually it took me a while to catch on to, somebody, I think it was a monk like a year or two ago, kind of corrected me. And you can see it in the sutta. So the Buddha is saying, even if there's a greedy kind of, even if there's a greedy intention behind giving, right? Because you want to go to heaven or whatever, guess what? You still actually, it's still technically skillful, isn't it? It's still beneficial. The person still went to heaven, right? So even if the person's intentions for giving are not wholly pure, right? They still gain benefit from it. Right? So that's an important thing to understand. It's something that took me a while to understand. Having given a gift of thought, giving is good. So the Devas of the 33. The Devas of the 33, I believe, are the next level up from the company of the four great kings. So these are all Deva realms. Let me catch where I was here. Or instead of thinking giving is good, he gives a gift with a thought, this was given in the past, done in the past by my father and grandfather. It would not be right for me to let this old family custom be discontinued. On the breakup of the body after death, he reappears in the company of the Devas of the hours. Then, having exhausted that action, that power, that status, that sovereignty, he is a returner coming back to the world. Or instead, he gives a gift with a thought, I am well off, those are not well off. It would not be right for me, being well off, not to give a gift to those who are not well off. On the breakup of the body after death, he reappears in the company of the contented Devas. Then, having exhausted that action, that power, that status, that sovereignty, he is a returner coming back to the world. Or instead, he gives a gift with the thought, just as there were great sacrifices of the sages of the past, Attaka Vamata, Vamadeva, Vaisamita, Yamataggi, Angirasa, Bharadvaja, Vasita, Kassapa, and Bagu. In the same way will this be my distribution of gifts. On the breakup of the body after death, he reappears in the company of the Devas who delight in creation. Then, having exhausted that action, that power, that status, that sovereignty, he is a returner coming back to the world. Or instead, he gives a gift with a thought, when this gift of mine is given, it makes the mind serene. Gratification and joy arise. On the breakup of the body after death, he reappears in the company of the Devas who have power over the creations of others. Which one is better, the Devas that create or the Devas that have power over the creation of those who create? That's an interesting one. Then, having exhausted that action, that power, that status, that sovereignty, he is a returner coming back to the world. Or instead of thinking, when the gift of mine is given, it makes the mind serene, gratification and joy arise. He gives a gift with a thought. This is an ornament for the mind, a support for the mind. He gives his gift, food and drink, clothing, a vehicle, a garland, perfume, and ointment, bedding, shelters, and a lamp, to a Brahmin or a contemplative. What do you think, Sariputta? Might a person give a gift such as this? Yes, Lord. Having given a gift as this, not seeking his own profit, not with a mind attached, not seeking to store up for his own good, nor with the thought, I'll enjoy this after death, nor with the thought giving is good, nor with the thought this was given in the past and is a custom, nor with the thought I'm well off, those are not well off, nor with the thought when the gift of mine is given, it makes the mind serene, but with the thought this is an ornament of the mind, support for the mind. On the breakup of the body after death, he reappears in the company of Brahma's retinue. Then, having exhausted that action, that power, that status, that sovereignty, he is a non-returner. He comes not back to this world, or he does not come back to this world. This, Sariputta, is the cause, this is the reason why a person gives a gift of a certain sort, and it does not bear great fruit and benefit, where others give the same gift, and it bears great fruit and benefit. James is posting some good stuff. Let me see here. Some things are happening in the chat. Oh, a bunch. All of a sudden, the chat's getting a little busier. What do we got here? Meditation practice itself as a form of dana? I don't know. I mean, I suppose it could be thought of that way. Dana for yourself and others. I don't know. James is posting here. I don't know if those necessarily match exactly what Amy is asking for, but well, Adriana, I think that Adriana says, I wonder how Dhammanusati leads to dispassion, as James mentioned above. Notice that last one, right? So of the sutta we just read, the Buddha is talking about a person who gives because it ornaments the mind, meaning that they're trying to develop the mind, a mind of letting go, a mind of giving. And that leads to the Brahma retinue and not coming back. So non-returner, right? So depending on your intention and depending on what you're trying to do, depends on where you go. So practicing letting go, of course, leads to cessation, dispassion, nibbana. Greeno says here, a sutta quote, one thing, mendicants, when developed and cultivated, leads solely to disillusionment, dispassion, cessation. Oh, here it is, peace, insight, awakening, and nibbana. What one thing? Recollection of generosity. There you go. Yeah. How about another sutta on generosity. This one's a bit smaller. This one talks about the interaction between the giver and the receiver. On one occasion, the Blessed One was staying near Savatthi at Jeta's Grove, Anthapindika's monastery. There you go. Where the ground is paved with gold coins. And on that occasion, the laywoman, Velukandiki, Nanda's mother, had established a donation endowed with 6 factors for the community of monks headed by Sariputta and Moggallana. The Blessed One saw with his divine eye, surpassing the human, that the laywoman Velukandiki, Nanda's mother, had established a donation endowed with the 6 factors for the community of monks headed by Sariputta and Moggallana. On seeing this, he addressed the monks. Monks, the laywoman Velukandiki, Nanda's mother, has established a donation endowed with 6 factors for the community of monks headed by Sariputta and Moggallana. And how is a donation endowed with 6 factors? There is the case where there are 3 factors of the donor and 3 factors of the recipient. And which are the 3 factors of the donor? There is the case where the donor, before giving, is glad. While giving, their mind is bright and clear. And after giving, the mind is gratified. These are the 3 factors of the donor. What are the 3 factors of the recipient? There is the case where the recipient is free from passion, or are practicing for the subduing of passion, free from aversion, or are practicing for the subduing of aversion, and free from delusion, or practicing for the subduing of delusion. These are the 3 factors of recipients. Such are the 3 factors of the donors and the 3 factors of recipients. And this is how a donation is endowed with 6 factors. And it is not easy to take the measure of the merit of a donation thus endowed with 6 factors. So this is an interesting thing, right? So this is talking about, obviously, well, it doesn't necessarily have to mean monastics, but it's talking about somebody who is practicing generosity with the highest intentions, and somebody who is practicing the Dhamma with the highest intentions, and how the 2 of them together match the 6 factors that create the most benefit for dana. It is not easy to take a measure of the merit of a donation thus endowed with 6 factors, as just this much a bonanza of merit. I love that. A bonanza of merit. I remember that from my early days reading this. The bonanza of merit. A bonanza of what is skillful. A nutriment of bliss. Heavenly, resulting in bliss. Leading to heaven. That leads to what is desirable, pleasing, charming, beneficial, pleasant. It is simply reckoned as a great mass of merit. Incalculable. Immeasurable. The great bonanza of merit. Just as it is not easy to take measure of the great ocean as just this many buckets of water, just this many hundreds of buckets of water, just this many thousands, hundreds of thousands buckets of water, it is simply reckoned as a great mass of water, incalculable, immeasurable. In the same way, it is not easy to take measure of the merit of a donation thus endowed with 6 factors, as just this much of a bonanza of merit, a bonanza of what is skillful, a nutriment of bliss, heavenly, resulting in bliss, leading to heaven. That leads to what is desirable, pleasing, charming, beneficial, pleasant. It is simply reckoned as a great mass of merit, incalculable, immeasurable. And so it ends with some verses. Before giving, glad. While giving, the mind is bright and clear. After giving, one is gratified. This is the consummation of the sacrifice. Free from passion, free from aversion, free from delusion, without fermentation, the consummation of the field of the sacrifice. The Buddha, it's when we talk about the qualities of the Arya Sangha, right? The great field of merit. One restrained, leading the holy life, having rinsed oneself, having given with one's own hand, then because of oneself, because of the other, that is a sacrifice yielding great fruit. Having given thus, intelligent, a person of conviction, with awareness released, reappears wise in the world of bliss unalloyed. So this is actually something very interesting for monastics to reflect on, right? So monastics reflect on that if they are acting skillfully, practicing skillfully, living skillfully, then when somebody gives a gift to them, that person benefits from that gift even more, right? They don't know that you are, what your morality is as a monk. You might be a bad monk, you might be a good monk, you might be a great monk. They don't know, but they give, right? For whatever reason they give, right? But if you're practicing a monk, you reflect, oh, I should practice very well, so for the benefit of the people who support me, right? This is a very important reflection for a monastic. Yes, Adriana, a bonanza. Adriana, so Bhante, would you say that the best intention for dana should be letting go then? Yeah, for sure. That you are, you are practicing dana for the development of your mind, right? So that you can be free from suffering, right? So that you can cause people less suffering, right? The people around you, right? And of course, you also would, like this person could use this thing, right? So it's you can have that joint thing. You can understand, like, I want to give, I want to practice letting go, practice lots of giving for my development and for the benefit of others, right? As always, Buddha says, one practices for oneself and for others, right? Not just for others and not just for oneself, but for both. All right. Nobody has any questions. I think the chat is starting to die down a little bit. Maybe now is a good time to do the guided meditation. Oh, okay. There's a question. I see. There's a question. Greeno says, Anthapindika is so dope. He's like the lay version of the Buddha. I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, he's pretty dope. When would you recommend practicing Sila and Dana Nusati? Practice Sila Nusati, and you can practice these at any time. Maybe do it once a day. Practice these at least once a day. But you can also apply them like as a remedy, as a tool, right? So if your mind is thinking about all the bad things that you've done, right? You can counteract that. It's good to think about, like, it's good to reflect that you've done bad things, but you can also beat yourself over the head with it too much, where it actually harms you. So you think of your good deeds, right? To balance it out. You know, instead of your mind always thinking about all your negative, your bad deeds, think about your good deeds. And so you have a more balanced perspective of yourself and others, right? Because it's very good for, Sila Nusati, just like in Satipatthana, where it's both internally and externally. Right. So you can think about, if your mind is going, that person, they're just such bad things, blah, 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 blah. Right. You can think, oh, no, they've done good things too. I remember when they did this and I remember when they did that. Right. So that you can have a more balanced perspective of that person as well. Right. So it works for both you and it works for others. So, Brandon, if you ever have a question of the Pali words, just say, what does blank mean? And you can write it out phonetically or whatever, and then I can help you with that. No problem. Uh-oh. Am I on? I did something where I knocked out the chat. I don't know what I did. Oh, well. What did I do? Huh. I don't know what I did. I don't know how I disabled the chat, apparently. I'm going to show how hip I am by saying that I am having a boomer moment. This is the first time I've ever had a boomer moment on a stream before. No, I can't enable or disable the chat. Well, kind of hard to discuss with you guys if I can't see anybody typing. I know what to do. There we go. Yep. Oh, the wonder of multiple devices, huh? All right. So yeah, practice. If you are like when you feel very greedy, like if you are feeling like you should be sharing something, right? But you don't want to,